Hi, the sixth section of the Airbnb Style Guide focuses on best practices for handling strings in JavaScript. This is a crucial topic because strings are among the most common data types used in programming, and managing them efficiently and safely can greatly impact the readability and maintainability of your code. Let's start with the first recommendation. While JavaScript allows both single and double quotes for strings, the Style Guide recommends using single quotes. This is a simple but important standard for consistency, so don't do this. Do this instead. Next, let's discuss template literals. Template literals introduced in ES6 and are a significant enhancement to string literals in JavaScript. They provide a more powerful and flexible way to work with strings. Traditional strings in JavaScript are limited in that they don't easily allow for dynamic expressions, multiline strings, or string interpolation. Template literals address these limitations. Here's how you would handle a multiline string with template literals. In this example, the string saves where to start new lines. Template literals also make it easy to embed expressions within strings. You can insert variables, operations, and function calls inside placeholders within the string, like so. Template literals can also be used for something called tagged templates, but that's outside of the scope of this lesson. Anyhow, template literals should only be used when you need interpolation or new lines. Here's an incorrect usage. This usage is incorrect, since there isn't any interpolation or new line here. The correct approach remains this. By reserving template literals for when they're truly needed, your code becomes clearer and the special functionality they offer becomes more apparent. Moving on to long strings. When a string makes the line exceed 100 characters, it's tempting to break it across multiple lines. However, using string concatenation for this is discouraged. Here's an example of what not to do. This approach is not encouraged because it makes the code harder to search and work with. Instead, write the string in a single line. Even if it's lengthy, a single line string is easier to manage and doesn't break the flow of reading the code. Now, let's talk about building strings. When programmatically creating strings, prefer template strings over concatenation. This is because template strings are more readable and provide a concise syntax with proper new lines and interpolation. Here's a bad example, and here's how you should do it. Template strings enhance readability and make the intent of your code much clearer, especially when dealing with dynamic values. The next point the Style Guide discusses is the use of the built-in eval function. The eval function takes a string argument and executes it as if it were a script. For instance, as for the Style Guide's recommendations, it strongly advises against using the eval function. This is because it can execute arbitrary code, which poses significant security risks. It's a best practice to avoid its use entirely. Lastly, unnecessary escaping in strings should be avoided. Here's an example of what not to do. This is hard to read and interpret. Instead, write it like this. By avoiding unnecessary backslashes, you make your strings clearer and more readable. These are the best practices for handling strings in JavaScript according to the Airbnb Style Guide. Following these guidelines will help make your code more consistent, secure, and maintainable. If you like this video, please like it, and if you want more, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.